So about 2 years ago, my goal was to look good shirtless, plain and simple. There was one problem. I just couldn't see myself stop eating junk food. I mean, like, I know it's not the best thing for me, messes up your hormones, your energy levels, but like, come on, it's just too good. Let's be real, like, it's just so comforting, so tasty. Like, there is no way you can get the same thing with healthy foods, right? Until one day, I had enough. I got pissed off. I just hated like the way I was handling things. So I just gave it a try and stopped eating sugar for a bit to see like what happened. And trust me, like that was probably one of the best decisions of my entire life. I had like a drawer next to my desk, literally. Um, I'm looking at it right now. Actually, let me show you. What's this? I had like sugary treats here. I still have like something now. This is like a sugar pills, like 2 years old sugar right now. Okay. And yeah, I was pretty. No, I think I was addicted to it. Okay. Not something I like to admit, but probably like that. Yeah, probably I was addicted to it. So, I mean, how can you not? Like, it's good, right? It's the only way you could like enjoy eating. Actually not. Like, at first when I began like eating clean food, so like whole foods, not processed, I didn't like them because I didn't know like what I was doing. Like, I just took the whole foods and ate them. They were not good, obviously. So there needed to be a way to, make healthy food taste good. Okay? And trust me, there is a way. I will explain the way, like I will explain how I managed to make food taste good, even if it's like whole healthy food. You don't need like junk food to enjoy eating. Like, you can take the same principles that the companies use to, that the industry used to make the junk food taste good. You can apply them to your kitchen, and that's great. So yeah, like about 2 years ago, I was having lunch. I maybe like ate something, okay, but I needed to eat more, okay. So I opened the cabinet, okay. At the time, remember, I was like, I began to eat like healthy, so no sugar, no junk food, and I took this box of beans, the white one. I put them in a bowl. When I try to like eat them, they are like just plain, boring, just not good, okay. So I take some olive oil, some salt, added like I add those to the beans, and they're much better now. Like they're kind of edible now, yeah. Like I can eat them, but it was not like, yeah, that's good. I was like, just no, that's fine. It's okay. So look around the kitchen. I see an onion. I take the onion, chop that in the bowl, and yeah, like that's really good. I also take some sweet paprika, dump it in, and yeah, it was pretty good. That was like not like the most delicious recipe in the entire world, but that was still like an eye-opening experience to me. Again, not because it was like the best thing, but because I realized I could like make something taste good without following any like recipe or proportions or like an ingredient list. So this brings me to the second point. None. You need no skill. Look, the story I just told you is like the first time I realized again, I was able to make healthy food kind of taste fine. That's to me is cooking, like mixing ingredients together to make something good. To me is cooking. Probably it's like not the traditional definition of cooking. That's like my a bit maybe like unconventional way to view cooking. But yeah, like I don't like the definition of modern day cooking. Like you see, if you try to search how to cook beginners, something like that along those lines on YouTube, you will find like videos with thousands and thousands of views where like these guys make a huge list of utensils, things you need, ingredients list. They say, you need a good sharp cooking knife, otherwise you will like not go anywhere. You don't need a sharp knife. I use like a table knife, just a simple knife. I can do basically everything I need to with that. Maybe like if you're doing something complicated like some bakery, some I don't know, some weird like strange complicated recipe, again, okay, maybe you need some utensils. But if your goal is just to eat healthy, you need none of that. So just go to YouTube and search how to cook basic. Just trust me, you will never find a guide that is simple and straightforward. You will just find hard and useless information that, they're not really good advice, I think. So yeah, you need no skill, no recipe book, no cooking temperature like knowledge. You need like no thermometer. You need pretty much nothing. Maybe you need like a basic sense of taste, but if you don't have that, don't worry, I will like give you that in the next section of the video. So now, how to actually make food taste good. So I've said there is like a few things you can keep in mind to make like your food like just straight up better, like good tasting food, even like the whole foods. So basically there are 5 things to keep in mind, in my opinion. Again, this is not like the universal like truth. This is what I found like working. Every time I apply these 5 pillars, if you want to call them, I end up having like a great dish. So first is salt, second is umami, third is fat, fourth is acid, and last is sweet. So you may be wondering now, what is umami? So if you don't know that, blame the school system. So you remember in elementary school when they taught you that there was like in the tongue there was these receptors, there was like salt, this receptor like saltiness, bitterness, sourness, which is like acidity, and sweetness. Right? Did I say them all? Yeah. So there is one more actually. It is called umami. So basically, it is the taste, like in summary, found in certain proteins. It's the element of like umami. If for example salt, the element is like sodium chloride or some shit. For sweetness is the powdered sugar. For umami, it is like the MSG. You may have heard of it. Like it is like the monoglutamate. Wait, let me search that. It's monosodium glutamate. Okay, so that's the element. Yeah, basically, is the taste good, feeling of something. One way I can give you like an example. Like, do you ever like feel after eating like something sweet, that feeling of something good? You want to like eat something, you may say salty, but it's more like savory, like some pizza. I don't know, like a piece of cheese, some like junk food, that is umami. You're craving umami. So if you can picture that, you're picturing umami. So there is like a lot of foods that contain this taste. You can like search them up. Like I can give you a quick list. But yeah, like umami is like the most underrated aspect of beginners when they're trying to like cook and make things taste good. So umami, salt is, make your food salty. There is like no way around it. If you don't include salt in your recipe, it will not be as satisfying. Salt like does a lot of things. It enhances the flavors and also the sweetness. So we have fat. So fat is not like it gives that much flavor. The thing about fat is that it makes a good mouthfeel. It makes the flavors like stick to your palate, and you enjoy it more. Then we have acid. Also, acid is like great. Is you can, lemon juice, vinegar. They're all like acidic things. Even like some vegetables, like onion, tomatoes. They're all like acidic like foods. Acidity, like I have no idea why, but it just makes things like more fresh and taste good. Like you want to eat more if there is like acidity. The last thing is sweetness. I don't want to go like in depth of this because I generally when I say sweet, I'm not referring to like sugar itself. I mean like maybe if you have to include sweetness, you just use like some vegetables, some I don't know. That don't use sugar in your cooking. It defeats the whole point. Yeah. So those are the 5 things. If you include at least like 3 of them, your meal is fine. It's good. Most of a traditional recipe of like nations, they all contain at least 4 of those like principles, 4 of those like aspects in the recipe, and that's because like when you merge all of those pillars, like all of those tastes, it just turns out great. And you can do this too, the same way. So take a sweet ingredient, take a fat ingredient, take an umami ingredient, an acid one, add salt. That's it. You know why like a simple like plate of tomatoes with oil and salt is great? Because tomato has sweetness, umami, and acidity. What it is missing is salt and fat. If you add olive oil and salt, you can basically eat tomatoes. I don't know. I feel like you can eat them without getting tired. I love tomatoes with just like oil and salt. They're just great. Take for example the chicken curry. I make that pretty often. It is literally a bomb of these 5 aspects. So there is like ghee, oil. So there is fat. There is tomato, which is like again it is sweet, umami, and acid. There is onion, which is on itself umami and acid, even a little bit sweet if you fry it a little bit. There is chicken, which is like umami. If you add salt, there is also saltiness. So I mean, you're not missing anything. If you want like add the cream at the end, it's even more fat. So I don't know. It is just great. A great recipe. It includes every aspect of the 5 principles I gave you, and yeah, that's why I think most of the traditional, recipe are just liked by everyone because they include these 5 things. So the great thing is that you don't have like to include all 5 of them. Like take for example, sashimi, like raw salmon with maybe soy sauce or lemon maybe. Let's take for example like salmon and soy sauce. Salmon has fat and umami, a lot of it. Soy sauce has umami and salt, so you have a lot of umami, fat, and salt. 3 of them taste amazing. Take salmon and lemon. We have fat, umami, and acidity. 3 of them still amazing. It's that simple, I think. So even if you remember the story from before, the beans and the olive oil, salt, and the onion, think about it. So we have the beans, which actually like don't serve any purpose. They don't have any of those elements. But then we add the fat by olive oil and salt with salt. Then we have the onion, which adds acidity, a little bit of umami, and sweetness. So at the time I didn't know, like I was not aware of those 5 principles. I just went like random ingredients and apparently it worked. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, in summary, just when mixing ingredients together, make sure there are like at least 3 of those elements and you're fine. Okay, that's fine. You know how to make food taste good, but how do you actually cook? So there are like, you have to imagine 2 extremes. One is like what I like to call salads, and one is like fully cooked meals. So what I mean by that is, imagine like having ingredients, okay, having food. Depending on like how you mix those ingredients, you fall in this like spectrum. So for example, the example I gave you at the beginning of the video, like the story I did like with beans and onions, that was like a complete like salad, like not cooked, just mix ingredients together. And I think that's like the best way you can go about cooking if you're like just starting out, you never like really like cooked before. You just need like no skill, just need like to keep in mind those 5 things I just told you. So yeah, like you can go about that. Choose like an ingredient that maybe like has 3 of those aspects. Maybe like tomato. Tomato is a great ingredient. But you know, just look around the kitchen and look at basically everything you have in the in the room. Like if there is one ingredient you like take that, see what's missing, and add respectively. So yeah, obviously like that was an easy example. If you're like doing beans and other things you can eat raw, you know, that's fine. Mix them together and that's it. But if you're like choosing meat as like an ingredient, you may want to like cook that. So yeah, depending on the ingredients you have to choose where you stay in between the spectrum. You can also be in the middle, like maybe you cook just one thing and you add it to the rest. So you can like just go like improvising, like you pick one ingredient, you see like what that is, you see what's missing, you add it in. You know, you don't have to like pick beforehand all the ingredients and mix them. You can just like improvise, that's fine. So take for example, you end up with pepper, parmesan, salt, cashew nuts, and lemon juice. You can mix those together and you have like in this case it's like raw salads, okay? You end up with things you can like cook, sorry, you can like eat even raw. So yeah, just mix them together, that's fine. But if you end up like with you know, zucchini, mushroom, salt, lemon juice, like cheese, I don't know, you may want to like cook I mean, I think you can eat like mushrooms like raw, but you usually cook them. So you maybe like cook zucchini and mushrooms, and then you add like those to the other ingredients, and maybe you add the lemon juice at the end, I don't know. But for example, you end up with rice, meat, salt, and like cream, I don't know, some weird like recipe with rice. You obviously want to cook the rice and the meat. So now you like maybe wondering, if I choose like the fully cooked meals, like how long do I cook them? How like, is there like a specific order? Maybe I have to cook like the vegetable first and the meat and the shit, or maybe like how much do I have to cook? Because I eat for myself. Do we have to like cook a whole like batch of broccoli? I don't know. So let's go over proportions. So one thing I can tell you about proportions is that if you're like cooking vegetables, you like may want to go a bit conservative, because at least when I first like cooked vegetables, I know I took raw like vegetables and chopped them into the pan, and I thought that was fine, but actually it was like a lot. Again, you better off like trying yourself and, you know, getting a kind of a measure, and you can like fuck. So yeah, like try yourself. Like if you make more, worst case scenario, like you have dinner. Well, you know, for how hot, I suggest that like use like a middle, you know, a medium range of your stove. If you have a gas stove, just use like the maximum, then the minimum, like go in between. Use like the average, you know. If you have like a gas stove, so an induction or an electric one, use like the medium number you can choose, and that's it. Like the rule of thumb is like with meats, you may want to like be generous with time, so maybe don't go under 10 minutes. Like worst case scenario, you will like overcook the meat, and usually it turns out to be softer, so that's fine. Well, for vegetables, again, you can both undercook them or overcook them, they're fine both way. Like if you undercook them, again, like you usually can eat vegetables raw, so no problem if you undercook them. If you overcook them, they are like, I don't know, they break up more like easily. At the same time, like they are sweeter, so I don't know, you can't go wrong with vegetables. So let's say you are cooking like vegetables and meat together. Is there like an order? Do you have to cook like the meat first and then the vegetables? Many people will say that you have to cook the meat first. Honestly, like I've tried it. You can like just mash them together and cook them at the same time. They have like very similar cooking times, and again, like there is like a lot of tolerance with vegetables and meats. Just yeah, cook them for at least 10 minutes, taste them. If they feel like cooked, fine, take them out. If they don't feel cooked enough, cook them more. That's as easy as it gets. Like you make the rules, you decide how long, and yeah, just make sure that like the meat is not raw. That's all you have to keep in mind, and that's it. So yeah, you can like, if you want, you can cook the meat first and then the vegetables, or even the opposite. You can cook the vegetable first and then the meat. Doesn't really make a difference in my opinion. I've tested both, and you know, if you're like stuffing out and you just want like eat something edible, there is like no difference. So you're like in the kitchen now. You are starting to cook, okay? But you're like kind of afraid, you know, to burn the food. So I have two solutions. There's like two methods of cooking. So they're called like boiling and frying. What I want you to take from boiling and frying is that they both use a, you know, like a heat like medium, you know. They are like both a way to interface like more evenly the heat to the food. So take like frying. You use like frying, not like deep frying. That's another thing. Like just you know, put some oil in the pan and cook the meat on there. That's like better than not using it, because like there are many videos explaining that. But basically, it makes the like all the parts of the meat, you know, or all the vegetables in contact with the pan surface. So this is not only true for oil, but also for water. So when I say boiling, I'm not saying you have to like boil in a pot of water like your meat or your vegetables. You can, okay? But you can also just take a splash of water, put it in the pan and use it as it was like oil, you know? It acts in the same way. The only problem is that it doesn't like go over 100 degrees, because obviously 100 degrees Celsius, the water evaporates, so it will not get as hot as oil. So oil is kind of better in this case. But you know, if you don't like want to use oil for some reason, you can just use water and it'll be fine. Equipment. So when I looked up this topic like on YouTube, I was stunned. As I told you before, if you search it up for a second, you will find so many overwhelming like information. If I saw that like when I started, you know, preparing food by myself, I will just go back to the junk food. I was like, how do you need those many things? No, I cannot like see that working. So I was like, no. In my opinion, like you don't need anything like that. I may be like too lazy, but I don't honestly hate using, you know, 3 different pans. Even like the cutting board. Maybe that's a bit too extreme. You should maybe use a cutting board. I usually like take 2 paper towels, and I don't know, but you know, that's me. That's probably I'm lazy or something. So you need like no sharp knives, no like grating tools. You probably like can use even like a fork to turn over the meat. You don't even need like a spatula or something. So yeah, like in summary, like don't let the equipment be the thing that stops you from cooking. So keep in mind that like the aim of this video is not like to give you a recipe. I want you like to learn the basics and then branch out from there. So yeah, like feel free to experiment with anything you have in your house and take like existing recipes and modify them. Just like don't be held by some limiting belief someone implanted in you. Look, you can saute onions in like tomato sauce. You can like cook pasta in broth. You can like smash some blueberries in a pan and call it a sauce. You can like I don't know, add pistachios to your tomato sauce. You can even like throw some random stuff like in the boiling water of rice. Like be creative, just try new things. At some point you will find a recipe you like that you created, and if you think about it, that is like the way cooking was invented. Like this method of experimenting with like mixing ingredients, cooking them, not cooking them. This is like the way our like ancestors, discovered cooking. They were just trying to eat things with a bit more creativity. So they just mixed that stuff with that stuff, and they ended up with a meal that was liked by everyone. So do the same thing. Experiment yourself until you find a recipe you like. And yeah, like before I gave you like 5 principles to keep in mind to make like something taste good. Even that, like, don't be held by that belief. You can try other things. That is what worked for me. Maybe you will find something like better, like a better method. If you do, like, tell me. I will be grateful. Yeah, so like break free from the conventional advices and do your own things.